Welcome to my channel, where I am going to teach you about racial steering. First, I am going to need you to come take a ride in my car on a field trip, where we learn about our topic. What is racial steering?
Racial steering is a practice in real estate where agents guide potential home buyers of a certain race into neighborhoods away from another
Race.
They guide them by showing the potential buyers certain areas, without showing all available homes. An agent may push a home buyer to buy a home around others of the same race due to them thinking that they would be more comfortable around their own race.
Racial steering is a huge problem because of the constant disparities caused within communities. A lot of predominantly Black communities or others lack basic needs like education, job opportunities, health benefits, or even mental health resources. The usage of racial steering keeps neighborhoods predominantly one race, but undermine that these very communities have huge wealth gaps.
Racial steering goes all the back to the early 1900s where there weren't many laws or rules to prevent racial steering. This issue was just a part of major issues like racial segregation, blockbusting, classism, and even educational inequality.
A quote from Flournoy on how blockbusting and segregation were issues in past times. In 1977, the Community Reinvestment Act was passed to show that the government was assisting in the elimination of racial discrimination and segregation in the banking, insurance, and finance industries. Unfortunately, this disingenuous law, developed and implemented by public policymakers, shadowed racial discrimination and segregation in those neighborhoods the banks were supposed to service. In addition, 2 housing policies were in progress to allow poor and low-income families to relocate in white neighborhoods via the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. These housing policies, however, were court-ordered based on systemic racial discrimination and segregation.
Here are a few laws and agencies that try to help prevent the acts of racial steering. There are a couple key terms that are important to our topic like segregation, blockbusting, and classism. Segregation is where people are separated from each other just because of what they look like, how much they make, or what their culture does. Blockbusting is very important to racial steering because this is when homeowners sell or buy housing by fear of another race wanting to buy housing in certain areas. Classism is important in racial steering since certain races have been pushed into lower income areas. They are more prone to being a part of the lower class in society. Now, we're going to transition into examples on how racial steering is performed. We will start with example A. Example A started with a Black American man and woman with 2 children want to move near Austin, Texas. They are on the hunt to find a 3-bedroom house with an A+ school district, healthy food options, and extracurricular activities. They do not have any preferences on what races live next to them. A realtor has options of housing in a nearby suburban area called Ploderville, a couple of options near a more affluent neighborhood close to the domain, and some options that are on the east side of Austin that has predominantly Black neighborhoods. The realtor decides to only choose to show them the housing options on the predominantly Black neighborhoods because they feel as if the buyers would be more comfortable around their own people. Now here we have example B, where a realtor is in charge of a newer neighborhood and helping guide prospective home buyers to their neighborhood. The realtor has a plan to only offer homes in the neighborhood to white Americans. The realtor decides to push their white American clientele to this neighborhood by telling them that the neighborhood will only have residents of their own kind. They will tell every other race outside of being a white American that there are not any available homes in that neighborhood, even though there are many homes available. The other prospective home buyers of various races will be steered away from this neighborhood, while the white Americans will be steered into the neighborhood. Now, let me give you a few moments to think about how these examples are racial steering and what should have been done. Here are a few examples of what should have been done while racial steering was being implemented. These examples are racial steering because in example A, the realtor disregarded that the home buyers did not care what race they lived near. The realtor chose to only show them houses as specific neighborhoods, with only other Black Americans. This is steering the Black family into only choosing a house in that neighborhood because that is the only housing options they were shown. Example B is racial steering because the realtor chose to show only white Americans housing in their new development, which steers them into the neighborhood, while choosing to not tell other races about the housing options and saying that the houses are already accounted for, steering them away from the neighborhood.
What should have been done? Both realtors should have shown the prospective homebuyers all of their housing options. Both homebuyers should not have passed judgment based on the homebuyer's race. Realtor A should have focused more on what the Black American homebuyers asked for in their ideal neighborhoods. Realtor B should have followed the Fair Housing Act of 1968 that prohibits discrimination in housing now. From a notable source, Matthew Hall says, "As with past research, we find no evidence of steering in Asian white or Hispanic white audits. However, we find consistent evidence that agents steer Black home seekers away from white neighborhoods and toward Black ones, particularly female home seekers and those with children." What can you do to prevent racial steering in the present time? As a current viewer, you can use the laws and agencies that I have mentioned to inform other people or actively use them. If you are an active realtor or planning to become one, you can stand up for equality and show housing in any area to all prospective homebuyers. You can share this information to all of your friends or family, so that way they can be informed just like how you are now.
Goodbye to you and racial steering. Hello to unity in housing.
As a current watcher of my video, you can use the tips I have mentioned below. Like, share, and subscribe, that way all of your friends or family can be informed just like how you are now.